The loudest screams are the ones no one hears. Silence doesn't echo in the room, it echoes in the soul. Have you ever wondered what really happens when you go silent on someone who thought you'd never walk away? It's not just a quiet room, it's a storm in their mind, a slow, creeping unraveling they'll never admit to. They won't post about it, they won't text you about it, but it's there behind the fake smiles, the forced laughs, and the "I'm fine" captions. Silence, my friends, isn't passive, it's power. The invisible pressure they pretend not to feel, but it's breaking them day by day. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing in a forest, not a sound, just stillness. No birds, no breeze, just complete silence. At first, it feels peaceful, calm, but stay there long enough and that silence starts to feel heavy, like it's watching you, like it's pressing down on your chest. That's exactly what your silence does to someone who took your presence for granted. They don't feel it on day one, but let that quiet linger and it gets louder than any word you could have ever spoken. It becomes the sound of their own thoughts turning against them. See, we've been fed a lie that the person who walks away first is weak, that silence means you're hurt, you've lost, or you're running away. No, my friends, silence is for the strong. It's for the ones who know their worth, for those who understand that sometimes the best way to say you messed up is to say nothing at all. They'll act like they don't care. They'll post gym selfies, party clips, and healing quotes. But you know what they won't post? The late nights where they stare at your last message, the moments where they type your name into their phone and delete it, the random memories that hit them out of nowhere in the middle of a song while brushing their teeth or staring at the ceiling, wondering where it all went wrong. That's the mental breakdown they'll never show. That's what starts when you go silent. One of my favorite quotes says, "If you want to know how much someone values you, disappear." It's not when you're calling, texting, or trying to fix things. It's not when you're trying to make them care. It's when you vanish, not out of spite, but out of strength, out of self-respect. That's when the truth shows up. That's when the mask falls off. And let's have a little fun with this. They will play games. Oh, they will. Posting song lyrics like they're philosophers, dropping selfies at places you used to go together, watching your stories like it's their full-time job. It's all a performance. But behind that screen is a mind that's spinning. They thought you'd break. They thought you'd chase. But now they're left wondering, why hasn't he come back? And that, my friends, is the beginning of their unraveling. So today, we're going deep day by day. We're not here to judge. We're here to understand, to awaken, to flip the script. Because silence doesn't mean weakness. It means you've said everything you needed to say with your absence. Let your silence be your message. Let your peace be your revenge. Let your detachment be your power. Write this in the comments right now. I choose silence. Say it loud, say it proud, even if you type it quietly. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're walking in your power silently, and stay with me because it's time to expose the truth they hide when you go silent. Day one, they don't care. Yet the pain of being ignored isn't felt by the one who walks away. It's felt by the one who thought they'd always be chased. Day one, silence begins. But here's the part no one tells you. On this day, it won't look like they're breaking. It won't look like they're bothered. In fact, they might look better than ever. Fresh posts, happy energy, laughing with friends. You'll see them and think, damn, did they ever even care? Let me stop you right there. Imagine a glass of water, cold, full, untouched. That's them on day one. They're hydrated with attention, ego, validation. They don't feel the thirst yet. You just left the table and the glass is still full. So, of course, they're calm. Of course, they're confident. You've always been there, right? Always replied, always shown up. They assume this is just another game. They assume you'll come back before the ice melts. But here's the twist. You're not playing this time. And that's where the story starts to change. See, most people think silence is supposed to hit them like a truck on day one, like some dramatic movie scene where they realize what they lost instantly. No, folks, real life doesn't work like that. People don't panic when the door first closes. They panic when they realize it's locked. Day one is full of lies, the kind they tell themselves to stay in control. They're just busy, they'll be back. I still have them when I want them. That's the illusion, and it's comforting until it isn't. You might be sitting there thinking, why don't they miss me? Why aren't they checking in? Was I that forgettable? That's your fear talking. That's your ego bleeding. Because deep down, you want them to feel what you're feeling. You want that silence to sting immediately. But let me tell you something that's going to set you free. Day one isn't about them, it's about you. This is your test. This is where you feel the weight of your own decision. The urge to reach out, to check their profile, to explain yourself one last time. That's the storm you have to sit through. Not because you're weak, but because you're detoxing from someone who fed on your attention. You're not starving them yet. You're just cutting the first thread. And that's hard, that's heavy, but that's real. You've probably heard that quote. Sometimes you don't realize you were holding on until you finally let go. Day one is the letting go. It's awkward, it's quiet, it's unfamiliar. It's like walking through fog. You can't see what's ahead, and part of you wants to turn back. But listen, silence is not about revenge. It's about revealing. Not to them, but to you. It shows you who you are when you're not constantly proving your worth to someone who took it for granted. And let's be honest, they're not panicking yet because they think you still care. They think this silence is temporary, that you're just waiting for a reaction, that eventually you'll give in. That's the lie they're living in. And your job, my friend, is not to break that illusion with words, but to let reality crash into them on its own timeline. Because the truth is, they don't feel the weight of your absence yet, because your presence was always guaranteed. But that guarantee just expired. The real reason day one is hard isn't because they don't miss you. It's because they don't know they're about to. So breathe. Don't scroll. Don't check. Don't cave. You're not losing them. You're finding you. This is your moment to stand tall in the silence, to be the one who doesn't flinch, to stop trying to be remembered and start learning to forget. Write this in the comments right now. I don't chase, I choose peace. Say it like you mean it. Say it for yourself. Say it for the younger version of you who begged for love they never received. Say it for the future version of you who will never need to beg again. Show the world. You're not the same person who kept giving chances. Show yourself that silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And stay with me because day two, that's when they start checking the glass and realize it's finally empty. Day two, why haven't they said anything? People don't fear your silence on the first day. They fear it when it refuses to break. Welcome to day two. And this is where it starts. Not chaos, not regret, but something. It's faint, like a flicker in the background of their mind. They go about their day like nothing's changed. They laugh at something on their phone. They check social media. They might even post something that seems carefree or bold. But in the quiet moments when the noise fades, that flicker returns, that one small thought. He didn't text me today either. It doesn't hurt yet. It doesn't spiral, but it registers. Imagine walking into a room where a candle used to be lit every day. You walk in out of habit, expecting to see the soft glow. But today, it's dark, and you pause. It's not a big deal. You'll relight it later. But you noticed, and now that room doesn't feel the same. That's you. That's what your absence feels like right now. They're not missing you, not consciously. They're missing the comfort you brought, the pattern, the safety net. You don't realize it yet, but they were relying on your presence, even if they acted indifferent. You were part of the routine they pretended to be above. But now the silence has a little weight to it, not heavy, not painful, just noticeable. This is where the mind starts playing quiet games. They might open your chat, scroll through the last conversation, maybe even reread a few lines just for no reason. Of course, it's curiosity, they'll say, but it's not. It's their ego running a system check, making sure you're still somewhere in the background, waiting, hoping, wondering, but this time you're not. This is where the cracks start to form, and here's the lie they're clinging to. He's just doing this to get my attention. He'll break soon. That's what they want to believe, because if your silence is a move in the game, then they still feel in control. They still feel power. But if your silence is real, if it's coming from peace, not pain, then that control is slipping. And that scares them more than anything. You're not angry, you're not bitter, you're just gone. That's the part they can't make sense of. You see, most people are used to reactions, drama, closure, words. But when you give them nothing, no anger, no message, no sign, they're left alone with the most uncomfortable thing of all, themselves. And here's where you might feel tempted. Maybe you're wondering if they even care. Maybe part of you wants to check if they noticed. Let me be real with you, they did. But silence doesn't beg to be acknowledged. Silence lets them wonder, and that wonder becomes obsession. Slowly, day 2 is like the wind before the storm. It doesn't shake trees, it doesn't break windows. But if you're paying attention, you can feel it shifting. The stillness is getting uncomfortable, so don't move. Let them sit in it. Let them start asking the quiet questions. Was he serious this time? Is he really done? Why doesn't it feel like a game anymore? Because the moment it stops feeling like a game is the moment they realize they might have lost something real. You're not trying to win. You're trying to walk in your worth. That's the path you're on. That's what this silence is about. Detachment with dignity, distance with strength. You're not punishing them. You're no longer performing for people who couldn't see your value when it was free and overflowing. Write this in the comments right now. My silence is real. Don't just type it, mean it. Say it for the man or woman inside you who's tired of over-explaining, overreaching, and over-feeling for people who never gave half as much back. And stay with me, because day 3, that's when the whispers start turning into discomfort. That's when they start scrolling with hope and feeling the sting of absence. Day 3. Wait, why do I feel this? You don't miss the person. You miss the control you thought you had over their attention. By day 3, the silence isn't just something they notice. It's something they start to feel. And not because you've done anything dramatic, you haven't. You've stayed quiet, stayed still, stayed grounded. But that's exactly what's messing with their head. Because they expected noise. They expected a reaction. They expected you to crack. And now the silence is starting to speak louder than any apology, any argument, any closure ever could. Imagine it like this. You're used to hearing a ticking clock in your room every night. It's not loud, not annoying, just always there. And one day you walk in and it's gone. You don't panic right away, but your brain notices, your ears search for it. And the more you try to ignore the silence, the more you can't. That's what your absence feels. Like now, a quiet reminder that something familiar has disappeared, and they don't know if it's coming back. Now they're checking their phone, not once, not casually, but deliberately. They won't admit it, but they're hoping for your name to pop up. They might even rehearse how they'd respond if you did. They think about it during boring moments, in the car, on the couch, in bed before they sleep. It's not desperation yet, it's discomfort. But discomfort is what cracks confidence. It's the beginning of a shift they can't control. Here's what's wild. They're not missing you the way you might think. They're missing the security, the upper hand, the version of you that was always there, always ready, always trying. They're starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, they don't have that anymore. And that thought, it's dangerous. Not for you, for them. Because when someone who's used to being chased suddenly feels abandoned, their ego starts spiraling. Not their heart, their ego. It's confusion masked as calm. It's pride trying to pretend it's not getting weaker. They scroll through your last messages, reread them, analyze them, looking for something they missed, a clue, a warning, anything. But the truth is, there's nothing left to read. You didn't slam the door, you just walked away. And the clean silence of that choice is more brutal than any angry goodbye. And let's be real. You might be thinking about them too. That's normal, that's human. But the difference now is you're not acting on those feelings. You're not chasing validation. You're sitting in your power, letting the storm pass without stepping into it. That's growth. That's maturity. That's Stoicism in motion. And right now, they feel that. They feel that your silence isn't a tantrum, it's a statement. And worse, they don't know what it means. Are you done? Are you talking to someone else? Are you better off? The mind hates unanswered questions, and when it can't find answers, it creates them. That's where they are now, creating theories, stories, fantasies, all because of a silence they thought would last a day. This is why patience is everything. This is why breaking silence too soon destroys the power it builds. Because when you stay quiet, it's not about who texts first. It's about who holds their ground. And right now, you're showing them something they didn't believe you had. Discipline, detachment, self-respect. And here's the truth that stings. If they truly didn't care, they wouldn't be thinking about you at all. That inner noise they're hearing on day 3, that's not nothing. That's the beginning of their breakdown. Not the emotional kind, the identity kind. They're starting to question the role they played in your life. They're starting to wonder if they were as special as they thought they were. That uncertainty, that's what silence does. It doesn't attack, it haunts. So don't fold, don't check in, don't validate their assumptions. You've done enough chasing, let them do the wondering. Now write this in the comments right now. I am not an option, not today, not anymore. Say it for the version of you that used to wait by the phone. Say it for the part of you that was afraid to be forgotten. Show the world. Show yourself. Your silence isn't weakness. It's respect for your own energy. And stay with me, because day 4, that's when they stop feeling curious and start feeling the sting of losing control. Day 4, why haven't they cracked yet? When someone is used to controlling your attention, your silence doesn't confuse them, it terrifies them. Day 4 and the silence is starting to echo, not in your ears, in theirs. It's different now. The energy has shifted, and whether they admit it or not, they feel it. What started as just space is now beginning to feel like distance, not the kind they chose, the kind you created. See, they thought this was temporary, a phase, a little break that would end the moment you miss them too much. But you haven't cracked. You haven't sent that "just thinking about you" message. You haven't checked their story, liked their post, or even flinched. And that's the part that's starting to break them. They're used to pulling emotional strings and getting a reaction. A cute post, a subtle selfie, maybe a cryptic quote to poke at your feelings. They expected that to work. It always did. But this time, nothing. You've given them silence, pure, powerful silence. And now they're left wondering if you're even still watching or if you finally stopped caring. Imagine it like this. They're the lead in a play, standing on stage, expecting the spotlight to follow their every move. But now the spotlight's off. The audience is gone. No applause, no reaction, just an empty theater and the sound of their own voice. That's what your absence feels like now. Not petty, not dramatic, just real. And this is when they start asking questions, not out loud, of course. That would be too vulnerable, but quietly, internally, why aren't they checking in? Is this really it? Did I push too far? Their confidence, the one they wore so loudly just days ago, is no longer steady. It's starting to slip, replaced by a creeping unease they can't quite explain. Their pride tells them they're just doing this for attention, but their gut is starting to whisper something much darker. They might actually be gone. And that's where fear begins. Because now it's not about you coming back. It's about the realization that maybe, just maybe, you don't need to. They check their phone more today, not casually, not just in case, deliberately. And each time your name doesn't show up, it hits a little harder. They start opening your old messages, not to reply, but to feel something, to remind themselves of the version of you they were so sure they had wrapped around their finger. But now that version of you, gone, evolved, silent, and they don't know how to handle it. Because here's the truth, people don't miss what they still believe they can have. They only start missing you when they realize access has been revoked. And that's what's happening right now. They're realizing you're not waiting, you're walking. This is the day most people don't survive emotionally. This is where the temptation creeps in, strongest for you to just say something, to check their story, to break the silence just a little. Don't. That little break becomes a flood. And once you open that door, all your power pours out. Your silence isn't revenge. It's revelation, and it's working right now. They're not thinking about what you did wrong. They're not even thinking about why things ended. They're thinking about why you haven't folded. That question is now stuck in their head, like a song they can't turn off. They keep checking, testing, waiting, but the stillness stays. The peace remains, and that's what makes them restless. Let it happen. You're not punishing anyone, you're protecting your energy. You're not avoiding them, you're choosing you. And every second you stay quiet, you show them something they rarely get to experience. The consequence of losing someone who actually cared. Write this in the comments right now. My silence speaks louder. Say it for the person you used to be, the one who always explained, who always reached out first, who always stayed a little too long. Say it for the new version of you, the one who knows that peace isn't passive, it's power. And stay with me, because day 5, that's when they stop pretending and start feeling the loss for real. Day 5, why are they still not saying anything? The longer the silence lasts, the louder your absence becomes. Not in the room, but in their mind. By day 5, their performance is starting to crack. Not for the world, no, that mask is still up. They're still showing up online, still putting on the "I'm good without them" act, maybe even louder now, but that's all it is, an act, because inside, the stillness is getting unbearable, and the silence they laughed off a few days ago is now echoing back questions they're not ready to answer. Why haven't they said anything? Why are they so okay with this? Why do I feel like I'm the only one checking my phone right now? They'll never admit it, not to you, not even to themselves. But today, they checked your profile more than once. They reread that last conversation again. They hovered over your name in their contacts, maybe even typed something, only to erase it just before sending. The pull is real now, and so is the panic. They don't understand how you're doing this, how you're not reacting, not reaching out, not slipping up and throwing them even the tiniest breadcrumb of attention. It doesn't make sense to them because they believed they had you fully, emotionally, mentally, maybe even spiritually. You were always available, always consistent, always chasing. And now it's like you vanished without leaving a trace. No anger, no final words, just silence and discipline. This is where the confusion starts shifting into frustration. Because silence is only cool when you control it. But now they don't. You do. and they can feel that loss of control like a tightening in their chest. It's subtle, but it's real. And the worst part, you're not playing the game anymore. They try everything today. Subtle things, strategic things, a song lyric, a quote about healing, a picture from that one place you both used to go. It's bait. Every bit of it crafted carefully to seem unintentional. But it's anything but that. They want to see if you're watching, if you're still emotionally connected, if there's still a pulse between you. But you've gone silent and invisible. No likes, no views, no reactions, nothing. And nothing, my friend, is louder than silence when it lasts this long. You see, day 5 is where the average person breaks, not them, you. This is where most people cave. They start thinking, I've made my point. Maybe I should check in just to stay on their radar. But hear me now. You've only just begun. You've only just planted the seed of emotional consequence. If you water it too soon, it won't grow. But if you let it sit, let it stew, let the stillness work its way into their bones, that's when it starts to change them. They're starting to understand now that this isn't about you being stubborn. This is about you being done, or at least being done trying to prove your worth. And that idea alone, that you've stopped fighting for space in their life, that hits harder than any fight ever could. This is the moment where their ego and their emotions start wrestling. One part wants to keep pretending. The other part wants to reach out desperately, even if just to test if you'll respond, even if just to feel some kind of power again. But they don't, not yet. Their pride is still in control, barely, but that grip is slipping. And all you're doing is sitting in peace, letting silence say everything that words can't. Here's the thing, you're not punishing them. You're showing them what life feels like without your presence, without your attention, without your energy pouring into someone who didn't know how to hold it. And whether they admit it or not, they feel it now. Not like a gut punch, not yet. More like a quiet ache in the background, a tension they can't stretch out. Let it build. Don't break the silence. Don't respond to the bait. Don't lower your value just to make them comfortable again. Your job isn't to rescue them from the discomfort. Your job is to protect your peace. Because for the first time in a long time, you're not trying to be needed. You're just choosing not to be used. Write this in the comments right now. I protect my peace. Say it for the part of you that always gave too much. Say it for the healed version of you that's finally learning to receive nothing and still be whole. Say it loud, even if your silence says it louder. And stay with me, because day 6, that's when silence stops just being uncomfortable and starts becoming painful. Day 6. Why is this starting to hurt? The silence that once made them feel powerful is now the silence that's making them feel replaceable. By day 6, the game is over. Not because someone won, but because someone stopped playing. And that someone is you. You stopped showing up. You stopped reacting. You stopped making it easy for them to believe they were still the center of your universe. And now, for the first time, the silence is no longer just confusing. It's starting to hurt. This is the day when the emotional weight starts pressing down. And the wild part is, it still doesn't look like it from the outside. They're still going through the motions, still posting, still sharing things that look like confidence, still laughing too loudly at things that aren't even funny. But inside, it's heavy, heavier than they expected. And they don't know what to do with that feeling because, let's be real, they thought they were in control. They thought the silence would be temporary, cute even. A short chapter that ends with you breaking down and texting first. But here you are, still silent, still unmoved, still grounded. And that makes them question everything. Wait, do I not matter to them anymore? Are they really okay without me? Were they serious this whole time? The pride that kept them so confident a few days ago is now turning on them. It's no longer a shield, it's a prison. Because they want to reach out. They want to check in. They want to say something, but they can't. Because to do that would mean admitting what they've been hiding, even from themselves, that they feel your absence deeply. See, here's where it gets real. Day 6 is the tipping point. This is when the silence shifts from being a lack of words to being a loud emotional void. It's not just, they're not texting me, it's, they're not even thinking about me anymore, are they? Let me paint the picture. You've been the lighthouse for so long, steady, shining, dependable, and now that light's gone. They're out at sea looking for it, hoping it'll flicker on just for a second, just to let them know you're still there. But it doesn't. The shore is quiet, the sky is dark, and they don't know which way to go anymore. That's when the mind turns on them. It starts whispering things like, you pushed them away, you waited too long, they might be with someone else now, and even worse, maybe you were never as special as you thought you were. This is the emotional erosion that silence causes. Not all at once, not in a dramatic breakdown, but slowly, like waves eating away at a cliff. Every hour that passes, they feel it more. They feel you less. And that's what terrifies them. They're not afraid of losing you, they're afraid they already did. And while they're spinning in all this, you're still silent, not to hurt them, not to manipulate, but because for once, you're choosing yourself. You're not punishing them. You're freeing yourself. You're letting them sit in the consequences of the space they created when they assumed you'd always come back. Most people don't make it to day 6 with this kind of discipline. They fold. They send something vague. They try to just check in, but not you. You're holding the line because you're starting to see the power of stillness. You're learning that not every absence needs to be filled. Some need to be felt. And trust me, they're feeling it now. They won't say it out loud, not yet, but they'll show it in small ways, in the way they linger on your profile but never say a word, in the random posts that sound like guilt dressed up as wisdom, in the way they look a little too long at an old picture of you both, remembering a time when you were still chasing. But that version of you buried them in silence, and now they're watching a version of you they can't predict, can't control, and can't replace. Write this in the comments right now. I don't chase what's confused. Say it for your future self, the one who doesn't beg, the one who doesn't fold, the one who knows that silence, when held with intention, is a storm stronger than any shout. And stay with me because day 7, that's when they stop checking their phone out of curiosity and start checking it out of desperation. Day 7. Why do I feel like I messed up? They won't tell the world they regret losing you, but trust me, on day 7, they are telling themselves. Here we are, day 7, 1 full week since you went silent. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in complete stillness. And now the storm inside them is real, loud, constant. But here's the funny part. On the outside, everything still looks the same. The same recycled posts, the same little laughs, the same energy that says, I'm good. But behind that performance, something is unraveling. And it's not confusion anymore. It's something much heavier. Regret. They don't show it right away. Their pride still won't allow it. But now it's no longer about ego. It's not even about proving anything to you. It's about the quiet conversations they're having with themselves, the ones where they start asking the kind of questions that come with tight chests and sinking feelings. Did I really mess this up? Why did I treat them like they were always going to be there? Why did I think silence would make them chase? See, up until now, they still thought you'd come around. They were still betting on your old patterns, the version of you that folded on day 2 or cracked by day 3. But day 7, this is when reality starts choking the fantasy. This is when they realize the one who always reached out isn't reaching anymore. They open your chat today again, but this time it's different. They're not just reading, they're feeling the energy behind your last words, the tone, the effort, the warmth they took for granted. Now it's gone, and the silence is louder than it's ever been. It's not an absence anymore, it's a statement, and they can feel it pressing down on them. Imagine walking through a house you once lived in, every room still the same, but empty. That's how your presence feels to them now, familiar but unreachable. They know what it felt like when you cared. They can still remember what it sounded like when you said their name. But now there's nothing, just echoes, just reminders. And every reminder now feels like a warning they ignored. That's the pain of day 7, the realization that your silence isn't a pause, it's a decision. And here's where the tables start to turn. Not because they suddenly miss you the way movies show it. Not because they're crying into their pillow. No, it's deeper than that. It's the kind of missing that feels like fear. Fear that they pushed away someone who actually cared. Fear that they mistook your softness for weakness. Fear that they gambled with someone who wasn't bluffing. You see, this is the day they start noticing things that never used to bother them. The way your name doesn't pop up. The way you haven't seen their stories. The way you haven't even slipped up once. That's what eats at them. Your consistency in disappearing, your calm, your lack of reaction. Because when someone expects you to break and you don't, they start breaking instead. They won't text yet, but they're close. So close. Every hour that passes makes them itch for that release, that comfort, that old version of you they now realize they pushed away. But still, they hesitate. Their ego is still trying to find a back door, a way to get you back without admitting the loss, without saying the words, "I messed up." Let them struggle. Let them sit with it. You're not being cruel, you're being real. You're not playing games. You're enforcing value. And the truth is, they don't miss what you did. They miss how it made them feel. They miss how it felt to be adored by someone who didn't have to love them but did anyway. And now that love is silent. And that silence, it's deafening. So, no, don't send a message. Don't react to the little bait they might drop today. Don't check the story. Don't show up to remind them you're still there. Because the power is in the absence. The clarity is in the quiet. Write this in the comments right now. My silence is my standard. Say it for the version of you that always lowered your bar just to keep people around. Say it for the future you, the one who will never settle for halfway love again. Say it so the world hears it, even if you never say another word to them. And stay with me because tomorrow, Day 8, that's when silence doesn't just sting, it starts to scare them. Day 8, what if they've moved on? The scariest silence isn't the kind that waits. It's the kind that doesn't plan on returning. Day 8 hits different. This is where the silence stops being confusing, stops being frustrating, and starts becoming frightening. Not for you, for them. Because now it's not just about where you are, it's about who you're with, not just why you're silent, but what that silence might mean. That maybe you've let go, that maybe someone else now is what they didn't know how to value. And that thought, it doesn't just sting, it haunts. They wake up with it, that pit in the stomach, that whisper that says, "You waited too long." Maybe they even had dreams about you last night. Not the kind they'll talk about, the kind that wake them up with a lump in their throat, the kind that don't make sense at first until they realize you weren't just silent in the dream. You were gone. Today, they look for signs, real signs. They go on your page not for curiosity, but for evidence, something to tell them you're still there, that they're still on your mind, a story, a photo, even a like. But when they find nothing, that's when it hits. You're not just distant, you're disconnected. They start panicking quietly, Not in the dramatic way people assume. No tears on the floor, no big breakdown, just stillness that feels like anxiety wrapped in denial. And they feel it in the little things. They open Instagram, but they don't want to post anything. They scroll, but nothing grabs them. Songs hit harder, memories come quicker. Their mind is spiraling, and your silence is the reason why. Because here's the truth that's starting to corner them. Maybe you didn't go silent to get a reaction. Maybe you went silent because you're done reacting at all. And that changes everything. See, for days, they told themselves a lie that you'd come back eventually, that this was temporary, a little space, a short-lived break. But it's day 8, you're still gone. And worse, you're not bitter. You're not online throwing subs. You're not chasing them with emotional breadcrumbs. You're calm. That calm is killing them because now the silence feels permanent. And when someone who used to overflow with love suddenly goes quiet, it forces you to ask questions you've never asked before. Did I push them too far? Did someone else show them how they should have been treated? Was I ever actually important, or was I just first in line? That fear settles deep, and once it's in, it doesn't go away easily. This is the stage where they might actually try something, a small move, a story that hints at you, a post that brings back an old memory, a vague message. They don't want to talk, they want to test. They want to know, are you still emotionally available? Can you still be pulled back in? Is your silence breakable? But the version of you now, you've evolved. You've chosen peace over performance, and more importantly, you've realized that not every silence deserves to be broken just because they finally noticed it. This is the beauty of day 8. You're not just silent, you're clear. You're not ignoring them, you're prioritizing yourself. You're not playing a game, you're protecting your soul. And they're starting to understand, maybe for the first time, that silence doesn't always come from weakness. Sometimes it comes from healing, so let them spiral, let them overthink, let them feel what it's like to be on the other end of confusion, because for too long it was you who had to wonder. It was you who sat in uncertainty. It was you who felt the sting of not being enough. But now you've taken your power back, not by saying something loud, but by saying nothing at all. If this spoke to you, like this video, subscribe for more, and share this with someone who needs to hear it.